in fact, in many of the, indications that we're targeting with psychedelic therapy in the research, really is about getting people unstuck, right? And you, I think, are very well known for highlighting the importance of really putting forward this notion of psychological flexibility and developing the ACE model. So I was hoping you could just tell us more about, what psychological flexibility is and how you sort of landed on this model. And I think you got into it a little bit naming some of the dimensions of the ACE model. But yeah, can you just give us a little primer on that whole thing?
Yeah, sure. So psychological flexibility as a concept came from acceptance and commitment therapy originally. And I did a bit of postgraduate training in ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, and always really thought it was a really good model. And one of the main kind of foundational principles of ACT is of psychological flexibility, which is depicted as a hexaflex, which is a kind of hexagonal diagram, which basically has 6 points, 6 different processes that all together interrelate to create psychological flexibility. So the 6 processes are, let me see if I can remember them all. So there is diffusing so it's diffusion, and that is about detaching yourself from constant repetitive thinking and being able to have a distance between you and your thoughts. Then there is present moment awareness. So for me, that's about kind of coming out of the mind, thinking about the past or the future, and coming into sensory engagement. So the breath, the body, the present moment. Then there is acceptance, and that's sometimes called willingness to feel. So that's really about emotion, really allowing those usually painful emotions, sometimes happy too. And then there is the observer self, or sometimes called self as context. And that is something about identifying with the larger self. So if the ego is the small self, the kind of the ego mind with its concerns and worries, the larger self is, one metaphor, it's like the sky, not the weather. It's the bigger self that can watch the little self with its struggles and feel like it's larger. And then there is values, connecting to values, which is kind of obvious. And then the final one is committed action. So being able to actually do things in service of those values. And ACT therapists with clients will sometimes assess where somebody might be a bit stuck in one of these areas, and where, like, think about interventions to help them boost that. And when I was doing qualitative research with the participants of the first psilocybin for depression study, I interviewed them all about what psilocybin had done, how it had helped them. And there were these 2 very strong themes that came through. The first was that psilocybin was helping them go from disconnection to connection. So they described that in depression, that they felt disconnected from themselves, the world around them, disconnected from their feelings, their bodies, and disconnected. And then after psilocybin, it was like this kind of concentric circle opening up of mind feeling more connected to their body, connecting to emotions, the body, connecting to other people, connecting to the world around them, nature, and connecting to a spiritual principle sometimes, or a sense of interrelatedness of all things. So that was the first theme. And the second theme was about people described going from avoidance of emotion to acceptance of emotion, being that before they'd been cutting off from emotion, distracting, numbing so much. We all do so much numbing in our society, and they were going from that avoidance of emotion to acceptance of emotion, willingness to feel. So I was like, okay, this is, the Hexaflex kept coming into my mind, and I kept thinking, this is so similar to what ACT was saying. So I cut the Hexaflex in 2 and put 3 of the processes as a kind of acceptance triad, and 3 of them as a connectedness triad. So one was about accepting feelings, and the other was about connecting. And then when I looked at it, it was like a kind of like almost like a circle with a blue half and a pink half, because I gave the acceptance blue and the connection was pink. And then I started looking at it, and I was like, it looks like the sea and the sky. And then from there, I developed this idea of, I'm going to put the 6 processes in order of a journey. So then what it became is a pearl dive. So if you imagine like the surface of the sea, it's like got waves on it. It's like choppy waves. And the first process there is diffusing from your negative thoughts, like they are the waves of the sea constantly bashing against you. You're swimming on the surface of the sea, and wave after wave is just like psh, psh, in your face. That's the first process. The second one is you go into your body. So present moment awareness, come out of your head and into your body as you dive down beneath the surface of the sea. Basically, when you take the psilocybin, and you choose, when you take the psilocybin, to dive down from those surface level thoughts to diving down into your body, awareness of your felt sense. And then the third process is diving right down to the bottom of the sea. And there you see the murky, kind of sandy layers. And that's all about where the horrible feelings or the really tricky, icky feelings are lying. And they were described as like oyster shells that were very spiky and unappealing, but that you should swim towards them and open them up and search through the slimy innards, because by being with these experiences, you sometimes find the pearl, which is the meaning. And then the second half of the journey is you find the pearl and you swim up to the surface of the sea. And then you have that one, the observer self, the sky, not the weather. You look around yourself and you look around and you see everything differently because you've been on this journey. And then you connect to your values, and then you connect to intentions about how to actually enact these values in your life from this moment forward. So that's the Accept, Connect, Embody model of the analogy of a pearl dive as a psilocybin experience.
Hey, thanks for checking out that clip of the Mindspace podcast. You can get the full episode here on YouTube or check it out on your favorite podcast platform. Thanks, and be well.